pregnant. Trying to be nice.
At a local school, chaos erupted when an armed gang stormed in and took students hostage. Time was running out, and Sheriff Alston had no choice but to act. The pressure mounted when the mayor warned that he would be fired if the rescue failed. Captain Mason led the special forces to the scene, but every entrance was already sealed. Mason proposed blowing up part of the building, and after a tense pause, Alston agreed. The mission began immediately. Among the team were brothers Connor and Timmy, the most skilled and dependable members. Once the tasks were assigned and the plan was set, the squad moved as one. The rescue started the moment the wall came down, carried out with precise coordination. Some hostages were rescued in the first wave, but a sudden explosion filled the area with thick smoke, plunging everything into chaos. In the haze and confusion, Timmy accidentally shot a hostage, a tragic mistake that derailed the mission. Inside, the gang grew more aggressive. One of them aimed his gun at the hostages while Connor stood helplessly, unable to act. Tension peaked when a gangster stepped on a mine, and the blast threw Connor out of the building. 18 months after the failed mission, he left the Special Forces and became a regular police officer. On a routine assignment, he was ordered to escort a teenager named Joaquin, who was facing legal trouble. The situation worsened quickly when a group of gangsters closed in. Joaquin tried to escape, and Connor stepped in to protect him. Amid the chaos, he was forced to shoot one of the attackers. Knowing the danger was far from over, Connor told Joaquin to run. He was right. Soon after, a gang led by Pettis, a ruthless and powerful crime boss, appeared. Instead of striking back immediately, Pettis quietly plotted his revenge. At the police station, Connor was summoned for questioning. He insisted he had acted only to protect Joaquin from the gang, but the officers were skeptical. They believed he might be hiding the truth or covering up a serious mistake. The situation grew darker when Joaquin was found dead. Pettis was soon exposed as the one behind the murder, using it as the first step in his plan for revenge. Connor was blamed entirely, with no way to clear his name. He was charged with misconduct and officially dismissed from the police force. Meanwhile, Sheriff Alston secretly met with Pettis to strike a deal. Pettis demanded police protection for his drug trade, while Alston sought his support to secure votes in the upcoming election. Pettis was no ordinary criminal. He controlled a vast drug empire and carefully crafted a strong public image. Within the black community, his influence ran deep, making him a key figure in local politics. For Alston, gaining Pettis's support was the key to his political ambitions. Meanwhile, as Connor struggled with his dismissal, Pettis confronted him with a demand. He wanted Connor to avenge the man he had killed and made it clear he expected results. Connor refused, unwilling to take part in Pettis's crimes. Just when things seemed at their worst, he received unexpected news. His wife, Candace, was pregnant. That moment gave Connor a renewed sense of purpose. Connor devoted himself to caring for Candace, determined to change his life. But peace didn't last long. While shopping for his wife, he was ambushed. Big O, one of Pettis's men, knocked him out and cuffed him. This time, Pettis was done negotiating. Using Candace's leverage, he delivered a clear ultimatum. Connor was forced to steal money and destroy contraband belonging to a rival gang in a nearby city. If he failed or refused, Candace would be killed. With no other way to protect his wife, he accepted Pettis's demand. But Connor knew he couldn't do it alone. He turned to his brother Timmy, a former Special Forces operative like himself. When he arrived at Timmy's house, he was met only with silence. Timmy refused to open the door. Since the failed school rescue, the bond between the brothers had fractured. Tension boiled over, and they ended up fighting. Only afterward did Timmy allow Connor to explain what was really happening. As the weight of the past returned and old wounds were torn open, at police headquarters, Sheriff Alston held a press conference before reporters and the public, broadcast live across multiple media outlets. In the crowd, Mason, a former Special Forces captain, attended with a different purpose. Moments later, Mason stepped forward and challenged Alston, hinting that the rumors about him protecting a drug gang might be true. Alston stayed composed and denied the accusation. Speaking directly to the cameras, he reaffirmed his commitment to the city and vowed to fight every threat, including the drug cartels. Alston's performance was convincing enough to cast doubt on the accusation. At Timmy's house, Connor explained everything. They revisited the failed school rescue, the mission that shattered their team and altered their lives forever. Their conversation was cut short by a knock at the door. It was Mason, their former captain, and his presence instantly shifted the atmosphere. Connor told Mason about Candace's kidnapping, Pettis's threats, and the mission he was being forced to take. Mason immediately agreed to help and decided it was time to bring the old team back together. He reached out to his former teammates, starting with Dwayne and Ship. Though busy with their own lives, they still felt responsible. One by one, the team agreed to reunite. In a twist of fate, Candace's kidnapping brought the team back together. Once reunited, Connor laid out the plan again. They prepared for the mission, carefully weighing every move to keep it tight and reduce risks. The group quickly regained their old rhythm. Their goal was clear: take down Pettis's rival and destroy the drugs hidden at the site. It was a dangerous mission, but they were determined to do whatever it took to bring Candace home. As Pettis's deadline drew closer, Mason and the team moved quickly. They launched the mission at a crowded party, swiftly taking control and cornering Danny, the company director. Under pressure, Danny revealed the location of the drugs and a large stash of cash. The team reached the site, destroyed the drugs, and took the money to deliver to Pettis as ordered. To cover their tracks, they set the getaway car on fire. But the raid was soon exposed. Chief Alston received word and immediately suspected Pettis was behind it. He confronted Danny for answers, and when Danny revealed the truth, Alston began to panic. He realized the truth could expose his ties to the drug organization. To protect himself, Alston killed Danny, silencing the only witness. Still unsure if Pettis had ordered the attack, Alston called him and issued a threat. Pettis denied any involvement. He knew exactly who carried out the raid, but kept that information to himself. After the raid, Mason's team regrouped and counted the money, planning to use it to secure Candace's release. But the amount still fell short of Pettis's demand. To make up the difference, Connor offered a bundle of drugs they had taken during the mission, hoping it would complete the deal. The team agreed. Only Connor and Timmy went to Pettis's base to make the exchange, while the others stayed back, ready to assist if needed. With the plan set, they moved forward, hoping the rescue would succeed. Meanwhile, at the police station, officials gathered to discuss the recent raid and the destruction of drugs carried out by an unknown group. They decided to question Danny, believing he might have the answers. Alston told them Danny had died from an overdose, but in reality, he had killed him to cover his secret. A suspicious officer, already doubting Alston's ties to the drug network, began to question the story, and Danny's sudden death only deepened those doubts. Meanwhile, inside Pettis's compound, Candace spotted a chance to escape as he stepped away. Candace tried to run but was caught by a guard. The failed attempt led to tighter security around her. On the way to Pettis's compound, Timmy asked Connor to stop at a restroom. There, a painful truth surfaced. Timmy was addicted to drugs, secretly injecting himself to cope with trauma and depression from the failed school rescue. At the same time, Mason carried out a backup plan. He reached out to Dwayne and Ship for support. Dwayne agreed, but Ship stayed behind after his wife refused to let him go, fearing for his life. Meanwhile, Connor and Timmy arrived at Pettis's compound and handed over the money. Pettis accepted but ordered his men to count it carefully. When the total came up short, Connor offered the remaining drugs as compensation. Pettis agreed and brought Candace out unharmed, proving he was honoring the deal. But just as the tension began to ease, a brutal truth emerged. Timmy had secretly been working with Pettis, feeding him information about Connor to cover his growing addiction and an unpaid debt. Timmy admitted that after the failed rescue, where he accidentally killed a hostage, he fell into drugs. The victim was a high school teacher Pettis deeply admired. That death filled Pettis with rage, but instead of killing Timmy immediately, he chose to wait. Big O, however, lost control and nearly shot Timmy on the spot. As Pettis and Big O's argument exploded, Connor and Timmy seized the chance to strike back. A gunfight broke out, and the brothers took down several of Pettis's men as chaos spread through the compound. Pettis fought back fiercely, but Connor and Timmy escaped outside, where the battle grew even more intense. At that moment, Mason and Dwayne arrived after taking out the guards outside. They joined the fight, backing Connor and Timmy as they closed in on Pettis during his escape attempt. With nowhere left to run, Pettis surrendered but exposed a dark secret. Sheriff Alston had been working with him for years, secretly laundering dirty money every 6 months to stay hidden. Pettis revealed that Alston was about to move money that very morning and that he had been watching closely for the right moment. Tired of being used, he offered to help the team steal it and then disappear for good. Mason and the others weighed their options and agreed. Candace then offered a plan of her own. She asked her cousin, an expert in forged documents, to create a new identity for her. With time running out, the team prepared for their final mission. The next morning, they launched an attack on the bank. Sheriff Alston and his officers arrived quickly, armed and ready to fight. A fierce gun battle erupted. Amid the chaos, Dwayne was shot and died instantly from his fatal wound. Dwayne's death left the team shaken, but there was no time to grieve. The mission had to go on. The gunfight grew fiercer as Sheriff Alston led his men from the front lines. Despite the pressure, Mason's team pushed forward and broke into the bank. Inside, they split up to move faster. Connor paired with Timmy, while Mason worked with Pettis. Their ammo was running out, while the police kept pressing the attack. In the chaos, Timmy spotted a sniper aiming at Connor. He threw himself into the line of fire and was killed instantly. His sacrifice saved Connor's life but left behind an unbearable loss. When Mason heard the news, he dropped his weapon in shock. Outnumbered and with SWAT closing in, the team seemed finished. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from an unexpected direction, cutting down several officers. Chip appeared just in time, turning the tide and giving the team a chance to escape. With his help, they fled the bank and boarded the getaway car he had prepared. But the victory was short-lived. Minutes later, Chip was gunned down. At the scene, Sheriff Alston lost control. In a fit of rage, he shot and killed a police officer. The brutal act was captured on cell phones, creating evidence that could finally bring him down. Meanwhile, Connor, Mason, and Pettis rushed toward the airport carrying the grief of their fallen teammates. But the police were close behind, and the gap was closing fast. Realizing they wouldn't make it in time, Mason made his choice. He told Connor to stop the car and gave him the code for the plane, his son's name, Jeremy. Mason turned back to face the officers alone. He sacrificed himself, taking the bullets so the others could escape. His death gave Connor, Pettis, and Candace the time they needed to reach the runway and board the waiting plane. 7 months later, Connor, Candace, and Pettis were living quietly in Mexico, starting a new chapter. Connor and Candace welcomed their first child, bringing them peace and a sense of purpose. Pettis left his criminal past behind and stayed with them to build a better future. Part of the stolen money was put to good use, with a large share sent to Chip's widow in honor of his sacrifice. They also made anonymous donations to the families of the school hostage victims, trying to make amends for the pain caused long ago. Back in the city, justice finally caught up with Sheriff Alston. The video of him shooting his own officer was released, sparking outrage and leading to his arrest. As the investigation unfolded, all of Alston's corrupt activities were exposed. Years of abuse, lies, and dirty deals were finally exposed. The city was freed from its corrupt sheriff. Justice didn't come in the usual way, but it came nonetheless. The story ends. The lesson: never let your brother take a bathroom break in the middle of a mission, or he might sell you out to a crime boss and ruin everything.